All right, you guys, what is happening? It is Bill back outside on a beautiful day. Yesterday I missed my video because I decided to take the children to the Milwaukee Public Museum so they could get out of the house, get off their butts, and hopefully see something cool. And unfortunately, I did not have time. So my apologies, guys, but we are back on track and hopefully we can take some momentum into this week. And today we are talking about the Kabin kindling splitter, which is a tool that I find to be sneaky useful. And so I wanted to show you guys my setup, show you guys how I use it, what I use it for, and hopefully educate you a little bit if you're in the market for some kindling splitting. Okay, so first things first, the black portion here, the metal black portion is the Kabin product. The wood base is what I've constructed out of 2x4s just to hold it. So what is it? Why do I want it? Okay, first things first, this is a solid steel, maybe solid iron, cast iron, cast iron kindling cracker. And so what happens is you take a piece of wood, put it up here like this, use any sort of mallet or you can see I've got like a little mini sledge here to push it down onto a blade here. And let me see if I can't tilt this forward for you, onto this blade here. And as you push it, you're forcing it over the blade and out across this wedge. So these wings on the wedge force the wood open as it gets pushed down. And then eventually the kindling splits on both sides. And rinse and repeat. These pieces up here are a nice handle as you're carrying it back and forth. And they serve to hold the wood in the event that maybe you've got something a little larger like this. It can hold it so it's not bouncing around. If you have a longer piece of kindling as well, it won't go flying once it splits. It'll hold like this once it splits on either side. So it's a really handy product. It's really well made. I got it at a local hardware store, Menards, I think for about 40 or 50 bucks. So it was a little expensive, but it's really strong. It's really well made. I do keep it inside, but you can see it's definitely taken some wear and some abuse. And other than just some rollover on the blade here in the middle, this thing has just taken a licking and kept on ticking. It is really solid. And I honestly like it. Like I don't have like a hydraulic or wood log splitter. I don't do enough firewood. Like we just have a little fire pit that the kids like to play with. So when I do need firewood, I'm typically processing it with a chainsaw. I do have a splitting maul. And then honestly, this guy does a lot of what I need it to do. So let me explain that a little bit. This thing is versatile because it can take big logs. I mean, not enormous, but fairly large, right? You can see the diameter of something like this, right? It can take fairly large logs all the way down to true like branches and sticks that you would expect to process to kindling. It's really easy to use. You should use some safety equipment like goggles when you're using it, which I'm realizing I did not bring with me today for my demo. We'll gloss over that part. Yeah, but really easy to use, not much to it. Honestly, when the kids are out cooking, their marshmallows over the fire, that's typically when I'll process my kindling for the next time around. So pretty straightforward here, and this is just my quick tutorial here. You guys know a heck of a lot more than I do. But typically you'll take something like this, and I'm gonna move it to the ground for the actual split here. You find this is drying out, so you can see there's some natural splits in the wood, and you just wanna line up the kindling cracker with some of those natural splits. So on the same sort of axis or directional as the natural split like that. I'm gonna move this down, and I'm gonna get behind the camera to pan it out for you a little bit so you can see. It's not that exciting. Alrighty. Okay, so you got something like that. You got your wood in place. You don't need gloves. Probably don't need eye protection, but that's how I typically like to do it. So you find a pretty natural split, and then typically just that first couple, just enough to get it on there. You see, once it starts to create that split behavior, it really just sticks on there. And now you've got a target, and you can just go honking away. Like I said, it's got 4 screws at the bottom, so you can screw it into a stump, you can bolt it into a stump, you can bolt it into a wooden porch. I made this little base because I like to move it around. My base probably could just be a bit more solid, I think. But honestly, it does the trick and it's not too bad. So you see a couple taps just to get it lodged in there, and then hopefully I'll get a little, I won't have to work too hard. Boom, right? So you get a couple of these. This one broke a little funky. You can see here, did a pretty nice split, and this isn't exactly a perfectly straight piece of wood here. You got the split, or you got the Y joint here. You've got some knottiness, and it did a great job. Not a problem. Really didn't take much effort. You can see this is a little 4-pound sledge, but honestly, you could get away with something much smaller. Even if you had a standard hammer, it would work just fine. And then rinse and repeat, right? So depending on what size you want, if this is good, you walk away, or if not, re-stick it on there, split it again. You can see with something like this, like a little branch, this is, you know, doesn't always split perfectly, but it's usually pretty easy. Look at that, just hammering it on, I've pretty much got it stuck there. Boom, split, rinse and repeat. Really useful tool. I know I was just looking on Amazon last night, and there are quite a few other brands out there. They look like they're similarly priced, so I'm guessing that this cast iron is really what drives a lot of the cost. I've been really happy with the Kabin product. It is Kabin, and you can see right here on the base, it has Kabin kind of engraved there in the metal. I've been really happy with this one. I think it's really functional. It's really simple. There's not really a single feature it's missing that I wish it had. So I definitely recommend it unreservedly. Pretty cool, definitely super useful. I see it lasting for years to come. Other than probably the blade needing a little bit of maintenance, it's pretty low key. So check it out, especially if you're thinking about using it for splitting kindling. It's just a lot easier than trying to do it with your own hand axe or trying to hold things. And sometimes it gets a little dangerous because you're working with small pieces of wood and you don't really have a good way to hold them as you try to split. So anyway, sorry about missing yesterday, guys. Hopefully you learned something new, and I'm looking forward to talking to you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye-bye.